how do you take notes from a book? So I started following Parker Notes on YouTube. And so he talks about using these different types of books. But what I did get from him was rereading over your notes. And so I am a professional speaker, of course, and I create courses and things. And so, and as an author as well, you want to be able to quote people. And so you want to be able to come up with your own frameworks, your own, things, the way that you do things, the things that really can help other people. And so I always write down things that I'm learning. And so when I'm taking notes from a book, I always, I could really, a lot of books that I've been reading lately, I really could highlight the whole book. But what I typically do is I write down in my journal. I have a journal specifically for this, that I actually write down the quotes, things that I want to use again. And so Parker Notes, he talks about actually rereading those notes over and over again. And so this is how it becomes a part of you. This is how you're able to use it in speeches and different things like that, is that you write it down on a piece of paper. And of course you want to have some way to, I use index cards too, but I'm not as good with the index cards, the big index cards yet. But at the top of the index card, or even the journal piece of paper, you could put at the top what the subject is. And so you could just keep reading and rereading over and over again. And so you will have, based on, in your notebook, however you have it, or note cards, you'll have stacks of notes based on the topic that you're reading about, you're studying. And so you'll be surprised how much you'll kind of accumulate in knowledge, and you just reread it over and over again until it becomes a part of you, especially things that really matter, quotes that really matter, quotes that can really be beneficial, things that could change somebody else's life. And of course, we know we cannot come up with everything. All of our ideas won't be brilliant. And of course, we can always borrow, of course, giving them credit for things that we're reading, things that could really help change somebody's life, because that's what it's all about. It's about helping other people change their life. And so we know that, people won't be able to read, none of us will be able to read all the books there are. But when we find things that are really inspirational, encouraging, or that educational, that can help somebody, we should share those things. And so whenever I'm reading a book, I'm always taking notes. I'm highlighting things that are important. I've started putting, a little box around something that I want to share on social media, and I put SM. I've started, of course, highlighting things that are important. I put a box around, and I might put use, and that may be used in a speech or a book, but I know I'm going to use it again. And so you just kind of come up with your own things that you might want to do. You might want to ask questions on the page. You might put your own thoughts on the page. You might reword what they said on the page. It's just kind of up to you what you're looking for. But I want to get the most out of a book, so I've committed to reading a book at least 3 times. So you might read it all the way to the end, then you start over and read it again. I typically read more than one book at a time, so it's not like I'm just reading the same book over and over again. I am, but I'm reading other books over and over again as well. So I know that you get, the more you read it, the more you get out of what you're reading. And so you typically don't get everything that you need out of it the first time. And then I believe in reading it in other intervals as well. So maybe in a year I read it again, or 2 years, something like that. But I want to keep reading it over and over again to get the most out of it. So just something to think about when you're reading books, how you might add different things in that help you get more out of the book, to help you to make the book a part of you, to help you develop that or adopt that philosophy of that author. And especially if you're not around people that are where you want to be, reading books of people who are where you want to be or were where you want to be will help change your mindset, will help change your frame of mind, and you'll start thinking about, what you can do to move forward in that way. What action steps do you need to take? What philosophies you need to adapt? What habits you need to adapt in order to get to, the next level where you want to be? So just something to think about today is, how do you read a book? Are you reading it just for entertainment? And of course, if it's fiction, I understand that. But if you're reading something for nonfiction, obviously you're reading it to get something out of it. So just think about today, what is it that when you're reading a book, you might start with, what I want to get out of this book, or questions do I want to have answered, or, just as you're reading, you can highlight and take notes, and, you put notes in the margin, you put notes above or below at the top of the page. And then you could just, think about what's important to you. You can reword it in your own words. And so think about it today when you're reading a book. Are you doing these things? Are you going back and rereading the book, or are you going back and at least rereading the notes that you highlight or the notes that you took? That's really how to get the most out of a book. That's really how to learn and grow. It's the repetition. And so we think, I don't know why we think that we can read something one time and get the maximum out of that, whatever that book is, when the truth is, it'll probably take us several times to really read it and get the most out of it. So think about that today when you're reading a book. What are you doing when you're reading it? Are you, jumping from one book to another? Are you highlighting? Are you taking notes? Are you, grabbing out or taking notes on what you really want to, keep reviewing over and over again? Are you getting the most out of that book is what I'm asking. Are you getting the most out of that book? And so think about that today.